Oh, here's another cancel culture victim. The word chief. Chief. We got rid of Indians, we got rid of Redskins, and now chief. Chief will be going away. Chief financial officer, chief of police. That's going away because it's politically incorrect. In San Francisco, they're actually illegalizing the word, or they're taking it off, city bureaucratic handbooks and that kind of thing. No longer will there be a chief of police. They're going to call him, the administrator of police? No, stick with chief. Chief. A cab driver just the other day said, "Hey, what's up there, chief? What's up there, chief?" I didn't mind it. I kind of liked it. All right, chief, here you are. I loved it. Every now and then a bartender, not that I drink anymore, but they used to call me boss. Hey, boss. I love it. It's kind of a term, it's affection. Chief. What's up there, chief? What's up there, chief? Call me chief. They're going to get rid of that. Ridiculous. Hey, remember I told you about a serial killer who happened to be a transgender woman? Well, that doesn't happen, does it, AOC? LGBTQ people don't commit acts of violence. Yes, they do. Not to disparage the LGBTQ community in general, but if you want to put blinders on and pretend that certain people are better than others because of their sexual orientation, well, you're hideous for thinking such a thing. And here we go. Are you ready? An 83-year-old serial killer who spent the bulk of her life behind bars for killing two ex-girlfriends is being eyed in the murder of another woman whose dismembered body turned up in Brooklyn last week, the New York Post has learned. This was written back in March. Harvey Marcelin, who identifies as a transgender woman, was charged last week with concealment of a human corpse after she was allegedly caught on surveillance video dumping human remains near her apartment, according to sources and court records. A human head was found in Marcelin's home in Cypress Hills. The grisly case unfolded last week when the torso of Susan Layden, 68, was recovered from an abandoned shopping cart at the corner of Pennsylvania and Atlantic Avenues, less than a block from Marcelin's apartment. Yikes. Got a picture here of Harvey Marcelin. Again, born a man, surgically became a woman, transgender, and that affords so many new rights and privileges and status, right? Nah, just a human being like everybody else, and, most are pretty decent. Some are pretty hideous. Some are okay. I don't know. Human beings, flawed but capable of greatness. But this one, capable of horrible evil, it looks like. The twice-convicted killer could face fresh murder charges. The octogenarian spent more than 50 years in state prison on murder and manslaughter convictions dating to 1963. The rap stemmed from the April 18th, 1963 shooting death of her live-in girlfriend, Jacqueline Bonds, inside the couple's Manhattan apartment. Marcelin snapped, shooting Bond 3 times when she said she was leaving her. Marcelin was sentenced to 20 years to life the same year, but was freed on lifetime parole in May of 1984. The killer was free for less than a year before she was busted again. I keep saying she. Keep in mind, this is a biological male. Busted again for fatally stabbing another live-in girlfriend, stuffing her body into a bag she dumped on the street near Central Park. She was convicted of first-degree manslaughter in that case in 1986. Manslaughter? How do you get this down to manslaughter? Manslaughter. And sentenced to 6 to 12 years in prison. Marcelin was denied parole several times, admitted at one hearing she had a problem with women. Yeah, you think? Let's see here. She was released from upstate Cayuga Correctional Facility in late 2019 and turned around and killed again. Well, on the LGBTQs, how about that? Hey, with all that's going on, why does the fake news continue to pretend that Joe Biden is doing anything remotely close to a decent job as president? I heard this. Listen to this little. They're swooning over him. Cut 50.
Biden trying to channel the nation's anger, the nation's frustration with this new shooting, acting as we so often see during crises like these in the country as a sort of consoler in chief.
This has been one of the things that President Biden has done going back to his days in the Senate. The counselor in chief, the consoler in chief on a day like today.
Playing the role of consoler in chief twice in less than 2 weeks.
An emotional President Biden assumed the role of consoler in chief yet again tonight.
Stop saying that. Consoler in chief. He stinks at it. Remember when he looked at his watch? He looked at his watch when those bodies were coming off the plane? And, oh, by the way, I guess you shouldn't be saying chief anyway. You politically correct reporters, don't you know you're offending the Native American community and especially the civic government in San Francisco? You can't say that anymore. All right, can I hear how consoling Joe Biden was in the aftermath of this shooting? Listen to this, how comforting he is, how gentle, and how he just says exactly the right things. Can we hear that? Joe Biden, the consoler in chief, cut 49.
As a nation, we have to ask, when in God's name are we going to stand up to the gun lobby? When in God's name we do what we all know in our gut needs to be done? What in God's name do you need a solvent for except to kill someone? Deer aren't running through the forest with Kevlar vests on, for God's sake. For God's sake, we have to have the courage to stand up to the industry. Where in God's name is our backbone?
Hey, stop doing that. I think you're not supposed to do that, actually. Talk about God in such a manner, like an angry punctuation mark, right? Hey, when he came out and speak about this, I told you the very first thing was about him. When I became president, all about me. Hey, let's skip down to Beto one more time. Looks like he made a fatal political mistake. So the governor of Texas is Greg Abbott. I like him a lot. He's been on my show several times. Do you know he's in a wheelchair? It's the kind of thing you can easily forget. A lot of people don't even know. I interviewed him like 6 times before I realized he was in a wheelchair. He had a terrible accident back in the 80s. A tree hit him when he was jogging, and he can't walk. But kind of like FDR, a lot of people don't know. Not that they're deliberately keeping a secret, but he doesn't talk about it all that much. But he was saying, I believe all the right things. You just heard Angry Joe. No, this is a much better approach. Cut 42, please.
To say the least, Uvalde has been shaken to its core. Families are broken apart. Hearts are forever shattered. All Texans are grieving with the people of Uvalde, and people are rightfully angry about what has happened. Events like this, they tear at the fabric of a community. Our job is to ensure that the community is not going to be ripped apart.
Well, I think that was very appropriate, very moving. And then Beto shows up. Can I hear how this goes down, please? Cut 43.
For Victim Services, has a phone number available for all victims, and candidly, the entire community, in a way, is a victim here. And I was provided their number to give out to you publicly. This is the number for the District Attorney's Office for Victim Services. The number is
Stay with it.
830-278-2916.
All right, here comes Beto.
And at this time, I will pass the mic to Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Sit down.
You're out of line and an embarrassment.
Sit down. Get out of
The next shooting is right now, and you're doing nothing.
No, you can get out of here. This isn't the place to talk this over.
This is totally predictable when you...
Sir, you're out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Sir, you are out of line. Please leave this auditorium. I can't believe you're a sick son of a that would come to a deal like this to make a political issue.
You're done, Beto.
It's on like you. Why don't you get out of here?
You're done, Beto. All the cameras are on him. What a pig. He's a pig. Beto O'Rourke. Now, keep in mind, the guy who's speaking so eloquently and movingly, that's Governor Abbott. Beto is campaigning for his job. He is a declared Democrat gubernatorial candidate in Texas. So that was the rankest political stunt we've ever seen. I mean, really, really bad. That community is grieving. He runs in there. And I'm hearing from people, by the way, oh, Beto, he's speaking truth to power. Truth to power. What does that even mean? Shut up with that stuff. Right? All those good old boys with their cowboy hats. I'm like, oh, yeah? What's wrong with wearing a cowboy hat? People, is there something wrong with that in Texas? Let's go through Beto. What a privileged punk this is. 2 terms in Congress. 2 terms. That's 4 years total. And he's running around making a spectacle out of himself like he's R.F. Kennedy. Right? 2 terms, and then he loses against Ted Cruz. Now, by the way, that's a winnable race. I like Ted Cruz. A lot of people don't like Ted Cruz. That was probably a winnable race. He loses. What does he take that loss? He goes and he runs for president of the United States, boasting that I'm born for this. You know what he's born for? Well, he's a rich kid, by the way, and he went to prep school. The last big job he had was, before politics, being a nanny. No kidding. He was a nanny on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. A nanny. I love nannies, but nannies should not be men. Nannies are women. Okay? Period. Is that sexist? I don't care. And that's it. Talk about privilege. Talk about, I just can't imagine it. 2 terms. That's what Obama did, by the way. 0 to hero in 8 seconds. You too can be president. So we got all kinds of people like this running around. What he really is known for, by the way, is using profanity in public. And listen to how the crowd eats it up. You'll hear here, we bleep it out, but he uses the F word. And this is, this is what makes him cool. It's funny. This is what makes comedians funny. It doesn't, the F word. And this is what makes politicians relatable? No. Cut 45, please.
In every single part of Texas, all of you, show the country how you do this. I'm so proud of you guys.
Woo! He said the F word. Woo! He said the F word. And they went nuts. They went nuts. I think he's finished in Texas. Finished. There was a guy right after lost his daughter. By the way, all the children happened to be Hispanic. All the children killed. One girl was white. And they were just so beautiful. Really, all of them have such it's children. All children are beautiful. My God. And we're having a silly conversation about this to avoid having an important one. Like I talked about yesterday, very few are daring to have it. Psychotropic drugs. It says right on the bottle, violence can result. Suicidal ideations can result. Well, what about homicidal ideations? We have tens of millions of people in this country on these drugs, and 30 years ago, they weren't. Children were not being prescribed like this. I think they're being overprescribed. Bernie's on the phone in Staten Island. Yes, Bernie.
Greg, this is Bernie on Staten Island.
Yeah, we established that.
I have to ask you a question. Who the hell is Ray, what's his name, Kyoto, the one you were talking about?
Yeah.
Who is he?
Well, he just died, and he happened to be a great actor. I don't know if you were listening to the show. You seem to be a little bit perturbed that we're talking about a topic that you have no interest in. Bernie, I see you've been on hold for 48 minutes to tell me this. You could have Googled it in the meantime or listened, and you would have known a little bit more about Ray Liotta. So moving on from you, Bernie, I'll go to Pat in the Bronx. Hello, Pat.
Hey, Greg, my main person. I wanted to just remind you, in case you hadn't seen the show with Ray Liotta and Jennifer Lopez, Shades of Blue. It was on TV a few years back.
Yes.
3 seasons, fantastic series. I tuned in to watch Jennifer, of course, but I was blown away with Ray. He played a dark, evil cop, but a great role.
Yeah, he did play a couple of bad cops. He was in the movie Copland with Sylvester Stallone. I did not like that movie at all. It was a total misrepresentation of cop culture. Did not like that movie, but I liked him and I liked Stallone. Hey, here's Ray Liotta getting arrested. Sorry, Bernie. This is Ray Liotta getting arrested at the end of Goodfellas by somebody you might know. Go ahead.
Today, everything is different.
No,
there's no one.
The one where he's getting arrested. We talked about this. No? You guys figuring it out? Gonna get back to me eventually? All right, give it a shot. Go.
Please, don't you move, you I'll blow your brains out. Shut the car up slowly.
It's Bo Dietl.
For a second, I thought I was dead. But when I heard all the noise, I knew they were cops. Only cops talk that way.
Oh, you... All right, and then Bo Dietl says, don't freaking move. He doesn't say freaking. Anyway, just 67 years old. It's bad news. Very bad news. Is there any good news going on? Anything fun? Memorial Day weekend. That's going to be great. We're not off on Monday. I'll be reporting to you live from another state. I'm going to Florida tomorrow, and I am so looking forward to it. I'll be leaving right after the show. I will be seeing the Top Gun movie. I'm sorry I didn't see it the other night. I'll see it either tomorrow or early Saturday. I'll let you know if it's worthwhile. But if you're inclined to go see it, go see it. I remember seeing the first one with my dad at the Westbury movie theater. Westbury, the old one, not the multiplex where you got 55 under one roof. But it was a great moment. He liked that movie more than I did. I'm really looking forward to the new one. Oh, out of time. Be right back.